My name is Steve MacQuaid. I work as a consultant with a small consulting company called the Atlantic Evaluation Group. And this is the kind of work that I've done over the years with various kind of groups and organizations on PEI. So for those of you who may not have been at the conference in October 9th, the Career Development Association of PEI has sort of staked out in 2015, like looking at the whole question of career development in a broader kind of way. And at the conference, those of you who were there will recall there were two keynote presentations made at that time. One from Serena Hopkins from the national organization that is called what's Serena's organization, home organization?
Canadian Career Development
Foundation. And the other presentation was made by Kathy McDonald from the Department of Education, Early Learning and Culture. And both of those presentations were intended to fit in with the conference theme at that particular day: career matters, collaborate, connect, and learn. And so I'm to present to you at your annual meeting here today the results of that collaboration, networking, connecting, and learning through the discussions that you had at the conference, as well as the results of the survey that was administered just a couple of weeks ago, post-conference. So that's kind of the context. So again, this is some background for the Career Association itself. Many of you will be familiar with this, but the association has been around for a while. Founded in 1999 and it was incorporated in 2011. And it has a broad mandate to support and inform and advocate for career development practitioners in a broad sense across the province. It informs, it disseminates information, it does a lot of public awareness kinds of activities. It promotes professional development opportunities for people working in the field, networking, where it has the opportunity, it represents the interests of career development practitioners in the province, and it advocates on behalf of career development practitioners in the province as well. There was an opportunity, as I said a moment ago, to learn from keynote presenters, but also to learn from the collaboration and discussion that happened in the small group kind of context. For those of you who were at the conference, you'll recall that after each keynote presentation, the groups were given an opportunity to kind of do small group discussion on a series of questions. And I'm going to summarize some of the feedback from these small group discussions that happened in the morning discussion following Serena Hopkins' presentation. And as you recall, she focused quite a bit on giving the participants at the workshop or the conference a sense of trends and activities happening within the broad career development field across the country and in various provinces. But she also kind of talked about the importance of like strategy development, having a clear strategy, a clear outcomes of what you're trying to achieve in your particular jurisdiction or province. And she also talked about the importance of, the growing importance of certification and the fact that a number of jurisdictions have moved toward establishing a certification kind of program within their respective province. So that was the sort of tone and tenor of Serena's presentation. So the questions that the small groups were asked to explore that particular morning, the first question was, given the kind of context that she spoke within, and given the like thinking about strategy development on PEI, what did the people in the groups think were the important priorities for the PEI to consider in its particular context? So the first one was that career development is a critical function, and it's becoming increasingly a more critical function for any jurisdiction, let alone PEI, and that there needs to be broader awareness and broader public education around the importance of that. If we're going to have like prosperity within our province and a thriving kind of workforce, we need to start building some cohesive links within the whole career development process. Another kind of strong theme in the discussions was that there does need to be some maybe clear identification and focus within the profession. There are lots of people in PEI working across the broad spectrum of career development in the province, but there may need to be kind of a narrowing down of the focus and the function so that it's better understood among various stakeholders, employers, parents, and students, and so on. That it's important to have a common vision within the province. This theme came out over and over again, that there needs to be a vision of where the province sees itself going in terms of career development, and there needs to be a clear direction. There needs to be a central point of coordination, that this was an important kind of point, that career development is a exercise or activity that involves multiple stakeholders, and it's important that all these relevant stakeholders be engaged. And the interests and the motivation and the needs of students, parents, and employers in particular need to have some sense of cohesive alignment, so that there is a progression that people can see when you engage a young person around the whole career development kind of domain, that there is a progression and a cohesion between the kind of supports that that person receives as they progress through the continuum. Other points that were identified with respect to question 1 was addressing labor market information gaps and disconnects within the province. Like a number of groups noted that as an issue. A focus or an emphasis on hands-on experiential kind of experience. The sense was that particularly younger students and students in high school don't get nearly enough of that, and therefore it's very difficult for them to, in a practical way, explore career development kind of options. That young people and students need more time on face-to-face with employers, so there need to be a much earlier and a better connection with employers and students and young people looking for work within the province. That a strategy, career development strategy within the province must have the capacity to address other kind of support needs that young people may have, either students or young adults. And that could be dealing with socioeconomic kind of pressures, health issues, mental health issues, addiction types of issues, that you can't have an effective strategy if these things are ignored too much. And the last point in terms of a strong theme was the stressing the importance of communication and linkages between schools, post-secondary kind of institutions, and employers. That there needs to be a strong linkage in terms of communication among those kind of stakeholders. Question number 2 in those small group kind of discussions began to have the groups explore the issue of certification, the importance of certification, the value of it, the benefits of it, and what kind of steps might need to be taken in PEI if this was to be pursued. Education and awareness was another kind of strong theme, so that in order for career practitioners across the domain to become interested or engaged in something like this, they need to be aware of what it's all about and need to understand its benefits and importance. That there needs to be an agency within the province that should take the lead on this. That was an important kind of theme. That it needs to engage relevant stakeholders. So again, it's a multi kind of stakeholder kind of activity, not just a one stakeholder activity. That other provinces and jurisdictions have pursued this, have put certification programs in place, and learn from what happened in other jurisdictions, what worked best, but customize that to the island context and needs. Ensure if a process such as a certification program is put in place, ensure that the purpose and the process is clear, so people know how to access it, what the benefits will be, and so on. And ensure that there's a broad commitment or buy-in to it as well. Just ensure that the curriculum meets certification requirements, so there's a good match there. Ensure that there's funding in place to ensure that the program can kind of be implemented in an effective kind of way. So this could be dollars in some cases, and it could be also staff and human resources. And the last point there is to ensure that prior learning is recognized and valued. That was a key point. Question 3 in the small group discussions that morning looked at getting groups to sort of examine or explore about who should lead these processes within the province. If the province is going to embark upon a strategy development process or a certification kind of program, who should be involved in this, who should be the lead? There was a strong kind of indication from the notes that came from the various small groups that the Career Development Association of PEI should be one of the primary leaders, if not the lead, but that it would need resources to do this. It doesn't have the capacity currently to kind of undertake this kind of a mandate. But it was seen as a natural organization to take a lead here, to have a leadership role. Obviously, it would need to include a whole range of other stakeholders in terms of a partnership. So that could be various government departments, such as workforce, development, advanced learning, education, early learning, and culture. and innovation. I'm not sure what the exact title is now, but innovation and economic development, those kind of departments. Various sector councils, industry sector councils, employer and business associations, and the PEI Counseling Association were some of the important kind of partners that people saw as needing to be involved in these kind of processes. And they also noted that it should include the advice, the learning from national bodies who have been working in these areas for the past number of years. So this was the discussion that it followed the presentation that Kathy made around the whole future and focus kind of direction that the Department of Education, Learning and Culture is taking. But the discussion was inviting people to sort of look at the questions in a broader kind of context. So in other words, not just related to Kathy's initiative, although that was seen as a key initiative, but in a broader kind of context. And the first question that groups were asked to explore that afternoon was to just think about the whole, like how they saw the various stakeholders, perhaps even themselves, working more closely together to align with the work of the new transition program that the schools are beginning to implement. Some of the key themes that came through that discussion was that it was important to promote the purpose and the benefits of the overall kind of outcome that's been trying to achieve. And this sort of relates back to, we can relate this back to part of the earlier discussion with in the morning where people talked about the need for a provincial career development strategy, so that if there was a larger strategy within the province, it would be much easier for groups and organizations and individuals working in career development to map their work toward that strategy. So having a sense of what the common purpose is and what the benefits are to the entire province is important. Developing and implementing a clear communication plan. So having a clear communication plan that sort of tells and communicates what the purpose and benefits are to all the stakeholders. Engaging the wide range of stakeholders, so students, parents, teachers, employers, community leaders, post-secondary institutions, Rotary clubs, other kind of community service clubs. The last bullet point on that slide talks about like establishing a structured approach and some sort of a map that sort of sketches out how stakeholders, how individuals, how organizations work together to achieve the kind of larger outcomes. Other thoughts that people kind of identified and came through as like larger themes were ensuring that there's dedicated funding and resources in place, making sure that there's support at all levels, so there is commitment from many stakeholders to sort of work in this direction, to use and to maximize like existing programs, so things like work co-ops that are already operating in the province at various levels, the work of junior achievers and programs like this. These are programs that are dealing with various pieces of career development and can be maximized, can be brought into the larger kind of strategy. Using technology perhaps more often and where it's relevant, and I guess the sense here is that increasingly the younger generation of students coming through the schools are much used to using a whole range of kind of technology to support their learning and begin to use that to foster the whole focus on career development. And then to ensure that any program that's offered is offered in both languages here in the province. The second question that people were asked to explore that particular afternoon in small group was beginning to look at how the work that they do and the work that other stakeholders are involved in, how that begins to align or how it could align with the whole career development field. The strong themes that came through were making sure that the purpose and benefits of the direction is well communicated, developing strong working linkages with partners across the continuum, making sure that how the programs and initiatives are designed reflect local needs. So for example, maybe what you might put together and implement in an urban environment may not work in West Prince as effectively. You need to adapt and accustom to the local customs and needs and requirements. Making sure that there's a clear sense of continuity for the student or the young person going through the career development kind of process. So recognize that either at different ages and stages, there are critical or important transition points that need to be kind of linked together. And to, again, as was noted earlier, addressing other kinds of needs that the young person or the student or the individual may be encountering. Other kinds of thoughts, the need for the timely and relevant labor market information. Again, in many of the discussions, this was noted as a gap. The importance of making the experience, the career development kind of process, an experiential kind of activity for the student or the young person. So they're getting directly involved in the activity. Using things like more field trips, more worker co-op kinds of initiatives or options, or job shadowing options. So the whole tone was to try to make better connections between the young person and skill development with the larger environment, employers, the community, and so on, to try to move beyond just the classroom kind of context. And again, using various social media tools, other communication tools to kind of expand on that. The third question that people explored in those small group sessions that particular day was how to ensure that stakeholders are working easily and smoothly across all sectors. Themes that came through there was, again, making sure that the vision and the outcomes are clear. So what the province is trying to achieve with our larger career development kind of direction and strategy is clear, and that everyone is sort of working towards this vision. A comment was less me and more we, so the idea was to move away from maybe looking at your role or your particular activity in a kind of narrow or siloed kind of way and seeing what you're doing, your activity, your work, your engagement with students or young people as being part of a larger effort. Building stronger partnerships and building a new culture of working relationships, not a one-off project. So what I think was meant there was that a career development strategy in its true sense needs to be a new culture of working in terms of working relationships as opposed to a single project. A few more points on that third question. Just a recognition that career paths, particularly in the times that we live in now, are going to change, and that the young person, the young adult, needs to have the ability to adapt and kind of change with that. So part of the career development kind of process helps the young person develop the skills they need to adapt and change when they need to. Another important theme was that people felt that you needed to address implementation issues and barriers as they arise. So the observation here is that, I think, was that with any new initiative, there are bound to be glitches and barriers and problems. And rather than let those barriers or problems kind of deter from the larger goal and objective, address them when they happen and make changes as you need to. Again, the theme of building strong communication tools and approaches and using social media strategies to promote, communicate, and increase awareness. Okay, my next series of slides are going to just give some feedback on the survey that I'm guessing most of you in the room would have completed in the last couple of weeks. So this slide just really talks about the methodology. So we disseminated the survey, when I say we, Kim, through the Career Development Association, to the 122 participants at the workshop in October the 9th. And then there was some further dissemination, and we're just not sure of the numbers there. That's why there's a question mark. I think people like Kim and Kathy and others, Gloria, forwarded the survey to other people they felt would be interested and would be maybe prepared to respond. So we're still trying to identify that number. But so far, well, when the survey was closed last Monday, there were 67 completed surveys. And if you just compare that to the 122, it's about a 47% response rate. Although that, we're not sure that's quite accurate just yet. But it did for a survey that was open for 2 weeks, it was a pretty good response rate, at least from my experience of working with surveys. So the next series of slides are just going to give you a profile of the respondents. And if you recall, those of you who filled the survey out, the first, I think, 4 or 5 pages of the survey dealt with you just describing the profile of the respondents. So We asked a question, okay, how many years have you been working in the broad career development field? And here are the numbers. 17 people noted that they worked 5 years or less, 20 between 5 and 10 years, 16 between 10 and 15, and 14 and 15 plus. So at least almost half of the, not quite half of the respondents have a lot of experience. There's a lot of experience kind of out there in the field. We also asked which are the target groups that you work with generally, and this gives you a bit of an idea of the breakdown. So with high school students, secondary students, 17, post-secondary, 24. So this means 24 respondents kind of check that off. 32 work with young adults who are between 18 and 30 who are not in school. 34 worked with older adults who are over the age of 30. Then there were others who worked with employers or employer groups in management. So some people were either CEOs or executive directors of organizations. Some people, 8 people, worked in policy. And there were 6 who noted other, and other were things like this. So someone said, I work with a project that involves student and employers. I work with persons with disabilities, persons with mental health issues, and so on. We asked, okay, what is your actual job title? And we did have a list of things that people could kind of check off. And this sort of speaks to an observation someone made a little earlier here, was that within the career development kind of field, people have a whole range of job titles. So nine said they had a job title of career development practitioner, 9 program project officer, 8 were employment counselors, 6 school counselor, 5 were executive directors of nonprofit organizations, 3 teachers, 2 curriculum specialists, 2 CD counselors, research and policy, 2 were working in HR, private business, 1 CEO of a private business, and a labor market specialist. So this sort of gets to, as I said a moment ago, like the spectrum of titles that people have within this broad field. We also asked people just to give us a sense of the place of employment. So there were 15 who work with provincial government departments, and we do have a list, it's not here, but I do have a list of the people who were, or the departments that they were involved with. 10 with secondary school, either intermediate, high school, or school board. 10 with employment assistance services. 10 with the nonprofit organizations. 7 with career development services. 5 with PEI. 4 private business. 1 Holland College, 1 federal government, and other. Also, we asked about the highest level of education. So 35 hold a bachelor's degree, 8 master's degree, 9 have a college certificate or diploma. There was 1 person with a PhD, 1 with a high school diploma, and 3 with other. We also asked them to indicate whether or not they have any level or certification of career development kind of training or education. So this was trying to get a sense of whether they may have taken a program where they got a certification for within the career development kind of field. And 31 noted that yes to this, so they had taken some course, some education that gave them a certification. 36 said no. And when we broke that down further, there was 7 people said they had taken a career and employment coach kind of course. 14 had gotten a certification or a diploma from the Winnipeg Transition Center that provided training. I think they were on the island at some point doing training. 2 people had a course that they had taken from Acadie that was career development related. So the first question was we wanted to get a sense of, okay, what's the level of interest in the issue of certification? Is this important? Is this something that people would be interested in? And as you can see, 38 were either very interested or interested, and then 23 were somewhat interested. Just a small number didn't seem to have any interest whatsoever. So I think this is a good signal to the Career Development Association. What are the elements that people think would be important around the whole issue of beginning to explore certification? And a large number said that having the competencies that would be part of the requirements clearly defined. So make sure that it's clearly laid out what the competencies need to be in order to kind of pursue your certification here. Also, a large number wanted to be sure about the benefits. Okay, so why is certification important? What are the benefits? What's the value? What's the value to me? What's the value to the larger pursuit of career development kind of goals within the province. Another large number noted like stakeholder buy-in, and I think this was really getting to the point that it would be difficult to embark upon and administer or deliver a career development certification program if there was ambivalence from some of the major stakeholders. So whether employers were saying, well, look, that's not something we're interested in, we're not going to really be part of that. Some of the other, 7 people noted other important issues, and this was things like making sure that the training, whatever it is affordable. It's not cost prohibitive. There's online learning options, that prior learning is recognized, that teachers see the value. We also asked people to kind of note, okay, what would be their preferred study options if such a program were to be kind of set up and delivered, and that people noted things, well, a strong number noted like the recognition of prior learning, I should say. Conference were seen as a vehicle to learn and to share and to gain knowledge. Web-based courses, having those available. In-person or workshops and seminars. Online seminars. Blended classroom and online kind of study activity. In-house training, independent study, face-to-face courses. Coaching and having coaching and mentoring available, and making sure that cost and affordability are kind of within range for people to kind of work with. There was also a question about whether or not people would be willing to pay for some of this training. And like 33 responded that they would be prepared to pay up to $300. 17 like suggested between $300 and $500, or up to $500, I should say. A couple over 1,000, I mean up to 1,000, and a couple 1,000 plus. Only 13 I felt okay, like if I had to pay, I don't think I would do it. A question around how could CDA PEI help like in the certification process, and people noted things like ensuring that certification is open to all members, that if a certification program were to be undertaken, that the association would represent the interests of members in that process, and that they would continually provide information to their membership on purpose and benefits and so on. A large number of respondents, and I think we get to this a little later, like thought that the CDA Association should lead this process if resources were provided to allow them to do that. We had a question around just the nature and extent of ongoing interest, whether people wanted to kind of be part of being updated on a regular basis. So a lot of people said, yes, keep me updated, newsletters, emails. Others said, like, I'd be open to attending workshops and getting involved in more discussion on these kinds of topics, or this kind of topic. Getting updates through Facebook and Twitter, and people were asked if they would be interested in joining a working group dealing with certification. People were also asked to, who should be the stakeholders involved in this, who could be leaders. A large number saw the association as taking a lead role. Another large number talked about the workforce development and advanced learning kind of department. Large numbers of people saw employer groups being involved, education and training institutions, skills PEI, and a large number of industry sector councils and industry groups should be involved. 30 felt that the Department of Education, Learning and Culture should be like a key stakeholder. The PEI Counseling Association, school boards, and some of the others involved, like one comment was any employment support organization that's working in the province, employment assistance services providers, the Workers' Compensation Board, HR-related groups. So people saw a large number of stakeholders being involved, needing to be involved, and like a core group providing leadership, particularly the CDA Association, Career Development Association. Okay, the next few slides are around the discussion around setting up or establishing a career development strategy within the province. So again, we asked the same kind of question at the outset, whether people agree with this. Is it important? Do you agree that the province needs a career development strategy? And here you can see like a pretty strong support. 48 either strongly agreed or agreed with this statement. Again, we asked a question around nature and extent of interest in terms of the CDA membership, in terms of the discussion around a career development strategy. So again, people wanted to be kept informed, kept up to date, wanted to be involved in periodic discussions, getting regular updates. And 8 people here noted that they wanted to be members of the working group. Again, we asked a question about which of the stakeholders to be involved in this. CDA of PEI came out strongly as a primary stakeholder, if not the leader, in this kind of a process. And then, like the previous slide, it listed a lot of the other organizations and stakeholders that need to be involved. The next series of slides sort of talk about or give me results of those questions that were around networking and collaboration. So we want to know how, like, the respondents felt connected in terms of their work to others. And so 61 responded that in my workplace, I have colleagues that I'm connected with in terms of the issues that I work with. 39 talked about being connected through the CDA's work activity, their newsletters or workshops. Other people, 32 people said that I feel connected in terms of the career development kind of domain through career fairs, job fairs. 21 industry-sponsored events, and 8 noted others. And the other kinds of things that people noted were things like being part of the Aero Tour, the school recruiters from university, getting informed and feeling connected through the employment journey and the stories that they provide each month through their newspaper, being a member of the association through other kind of conferences that may not be sponsored by the Career Development Association, being part of a network of educators, and just being part of other stakeholders who work within the field. In terms of future network opportunities, we asked what people might be interested in. And 57 people noted that they would like to be more aware of who's doing what within the field in the province. Others said that they would like to attend workshops with others. So having an opportunity to kind of engage in workshops with others. 39 meeting with local colleagues. 28 noted field visits outside the workplace. Okay, slide just again, we asked about how could the Career Development Association help with improving, strengthening networking kind of opportunities. And a large number noted like hosting workshops, like another large number, 47, noted that creating a database of career development practitioners in the province so that you could go online and perhaps say, okay, well, I'm starting a project with youth. Who else in the province is doing something related to youth in grade whatever? And you could do that and begin to kind of get connected through an electronic database. I think the last part of the survey asked people to sort of indicate whether or not they would be interested in working with the Career Development Association in a certain kind of way. So there was one question that asked whether you'd be interested in helping out with special events. So this could be helping to arrange a workshop, work at the annual conference or whatever. 31 people noted that they were interested in doing that, or they would be prepared to kind of do that. And I think they provided us with their names. 16 people noted that they would be prepared to work on a certification working group. 20 people noted that they would be prepared to work on a career development strategy working group. And you'll notice some of these numbers are different from the before. Like this is, I guess, at the end of the survey, people had more time to think about, okay, what kind of involvement do I want to have? And more people kind of elected to sort of help out in this way. 18 people noted that they would be prepared to join a networking working group within the CDA to help with that. And 13 people said that they would be prepared to consider becoming a member of the board. So in a nutshell, like I had a chance to be part of the conference, sit in on discussions and listen to the dialogue back and forth. And then I had a chance to sort of work with Kim and her colleagues on the survey here and collect all this information. So I tried to just summarize some of the key things that kind of I was struck with by looking at all the data. So clearly there was a strong level of participation, I believe, in both the conference and the survey. And this says to me that there's a strong level of interest within the career development kind of field broadly in things like having a clear provincial strategy to what we're all about, looking for ways to better network and work together, like looking at issues of certification and seeing what value and importance that could contribute to the work of the association and to career development generally. That there's a whole range of career development activity happening across a wide range of workplaces. The gap at the moment is that it's not well connected. And in part, it's perhaps not well connected because there's no provincial strategy for you to map off of, so you're always not sure, you know, is what I'm doing the same as what other people are doing? Is it different? How does it kind of work together? I think the target audience, like within the career development, is open and ready. These are issues they're interested in. They see career development within PEI as a critical issue. Because it's perhaps not operating in a more cohesive way, it's seen as a gap and a critical issue. They see the association, the Career Development Association, having a primary role in moving some of this forward. There's a recognition that it involves multiple stakeholders, so things like coordination and good communication linkages and so on are really important. There's an opportunity to learn from best practices. Other jurisdictions have gone down this road, and I think there's a readiness on people's part to help people in PEI kind of work on these kinds of issues. It's important to build on existing initiatives because there is like quite a few things happening within the province, and it's better to build on that and pull them together. That there's an openness to training, and that many people would pay for that training, or at least pay for part of it. People want to continue to be informed and engaged on these issues. And just about 25% of the survey respondents did indicate they would sit on committees and work with the association. My last slide or two just talks about, or tries to lay out some going forward ideas. So the first step is for me to prepare a final research report, which I will work with Kim and her committee and do this over the next short while. Then the next step might be to identify who are the key stakeholders or potential partners that CDA wants to bring this report to and have a good discussion about the findings and what it suggests. The fourth bullet just talks about presenting maybe a clear, strong rationale for the need for a strategy within the province, a career development strategy within the province, and also the need to look closely at the value and benefits of certification for the career development kind of field. The need to secure a commitment to go forward, so the association, I think, would need to secure a commitment from other key stakeholders to move these agendas forward, and providing CDA, the Career Development Association, with some operational funding to kind of pursue these things that would be required. The association would need to begin to establish some clearer terms of reference for its working committees. So if it has a cadre of people saying, I'm prepared to work on a certification committee, you may need to kind of create terms of reference. Okay, what's the real purpose of the committee? What's its mandate? How many members will it have? When will it meet? What objectives? When will its work be complete? Set up your working committees, and then provide monitoring support to your committees.
Okay, so I want to thank Steve for all his hard work and participating with, I said he's good with the ladies. We were congratulating him this morning on dealing with us and participating in the conference, and you really do a good job with your work, Steve, and we really appreciate and look forward to seeing your finished completed report.
Well,